So we're learning Maneh Chacham. We're on page Kuf Gimel. We're getting to complete the part of the chapter on nationalism, and the last thing Reb Yoel discussed, Hillel, was that if you attack the one issue and you don't deal with the core issue, it comes back to haunt you in another way. So he gave an example of the times of the Torah, with the times of the Beis Hamikdash. There was the Avodah Zarah Baal and Peor and Moilech, and someone says, "Oh, this Avodah Zarah Baal is terrible. I'm against it," but doesn't deal with the core issue. Then the other Avodah Zarahs will lure him in. Whereas if you deal with the core issue, which is what does it mean to be a Yid, a Jew, and therefore if you're a Jew, all Avodah Zarahs, all idolatry, all idols are not acceptable, and therefore it doesn't make a difference what the particular Avodah Zarah is. If it's an idol, it's forbidden. So Rabbi Yoel uses that as an example. He says, when you attack the Zionism, and you just attack the practical aspect of them, and you don't deal with the core issue, then you're not uprooting the problem. You're just dealing with the issue that lies in front of you now. If you want to uproot a problem, you have to understand the inside of the issue, the core issue, and give a person the proper understanding of what it means to be a Jew. And automatically, if it's Zionism, secular Zionism and all that, then it's forbidden. It's not against the Torah. Okay, so now let's go. Everyone turn to page Kuf Gimel, second paragraph on the page. V'hine. Kfar Muva, we brought earlier the Mekibush B'nai Yisrael in Sugacher. Since Yidden, the Jewish people, are of a different category, not just a different quantitative issue, but a qualitative issue. There is a difference between the Jew and other people. Just as it's impossible for an offspring of a first man, of Adam, to become an animal, and just as it's impossible from someone from the category of an animal, will never become vegetation, vegetables. Why is that, Moshe? Why can't an animal become a vegetable? Because the soul of an animal is an animal soul, not a vegetable soul. And a human being will always have, Yoni, the soul of a human being. We're not talking about reincarnation, with transmigration, Gilgulim. We're talking about outside of those possibilities, or tikkunim. A human soul is a human. Shehi nefesh acheres ma nefesh l'sugachai. A human soul is of a different soul, matter, material, and category than the soul of the animal kingdom. Oisa dover mamish. Rabbi Yoel says the exact same thing, and in the parentheses, v'yosim ezed, even more so. Shekol mishu mezed Yisrael, whoever belongs to the Jewish people, tiyeh b'tomid nefesh Yehudis, he will always have a Jewish soul, nefesh elikis, a godly soul. So this is, you've heard it millions of times, but here we have in a writing that you cannot, what do they say? I'm going to baptize you with water. Sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle. You're no longer a Jew. You, God forbid, a Christian, is like saying, sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle. You're no longer a chicken. You're a human being. No. Yes, Moshe.
Sorry, forgive me. I had to get. Where are we? I'm sorry.
Now we are on the second paragraph on page Kuf Gimel 103.
I don't understand. We ended off yesterday.
Yes, you weren't here. We learned a lot. Yeah, we didn't fabrain. We learned inside. You weren't here yesterday.
I wasn't here.
Yeah, no, we learned a lot. Yeah, no, I have to cover ground. Otherwise, we'll be sitting here till Pesach. I mean, we have to move. Okay. So, B'meila, this Nakuda, right? Velvel, can you tell? A chicken can never become a human? No, a chicken can never become a human. A Yid can never become a goy. His outer trimmings can become a goy. And like I told you, he'll need a rabbinic conversion. But a Jew is a Jew is a Jew. With the famous story of Mendel Futterfass, he comes from Russia, Chernovitz. He ends up in England by his son. The Rebbe said, you should go out and put on tefillin with Jews. He goes out to the street. He doesn't know a word of English. He knows one word, Jew. He'd see someone, he says, Jew. The guy says, Jew. He pulls his arm up. He rolls up his sleeve. Reb Mendel rolls the man's sleeve up, and he puts the tefillin on. You Jew, I Jew, tefillin. A Yid's a Yid. You're never going to change that. Next paragraph. Now here is a deep Hasidic explanation. What does it mean a Jew is a Jew, and it cannot be undone? Look at the words in the third paragraph on Kuf Gimel, page Kuf Gimel. Ki bedavar atzmi ein shayach shinui. Something that is atzmi, etzem, essence. It is not possible for there to be change. You'll notice, Hillel, it doesn't say ein shinui, there is no change. Ein shayach shinui. The realm and concept of change doesn't apply to an atzmi. What is an atzmi? An atzmi is someone who lives with their essence. So regardless of where they are, and regardless of the culture they're in, and regardless of the situation in their life, etc., they are who they are. Why? Because they're living with their etzem. Rabbi Yoel is saying, a Yid, the idea of being a Jew is atzmi. That's the truth. It's your core essence. So it's not just that a Jew didn't take the time to convert, or a Jew didn't look into other religions, but if he would have looked in, he would have came to the conclusion other religions are better. And no, the whole realm and possibility of change in essence is not shayach. And that's why I say to you, in essence, because externally, we have Jews, Rahman al-Islam, who do convert to Christianity and other religions and everything else. That's the external part, Yoini. And this has been proven hundreds of times, thousands of times. I don't want to get into it now. But the stories are when you go down to India with the ashrams and all that, and the guru, he tells you, hey, you're a Jew, go back to New York, go eat your bagels in New York, you don't belong here. Or the guy marries the shiksa, and then she says, you Jew, bastard, out of here. So those things reveal that there's that a Jew is a Jew. That's what he's saying. Let's go to the next part. Shinui shayach rak b'tzura chitzainis. That's exactly what I just said. Change is applicable only to the outer trappings, to the superficial externality. V'lei b'davar atzmi, but not to something that is essence. Uludugma, for example. He says, inyan ha-seichel, the mind. Hutzura chitzainis bi'adam. The mind is an external image of man. Yesh chachamim, yesh tipshim. Why? We have people who are wise, chachamim, and we have people who are foolish, tipshim. And since by a wise person as well, haseichel shaloi, his mind, hu rak tzura chitzainis, is only an external image, it's not the essence. Lochein efsher, it's possible. Sheshishtane midoir l'doir, it will change from generation to generation. Shoha'av yichacham, you can have a father who's very wise, v'haben yitipish, and the ben will be a fool. How can it be? Because seichel is not etzem. Seichel, the mind, is not essence. The mind is an external, important part to the human character, granted, but not essence. If it was essence, the son, all the children would have to be as smart as he is, or if he's tippish, as foolish as he is, and it's not that way. Why? Because the at the end of the day, the character and development of every individual is due to their essence, not to their seichel. And if this essence that was given to this person is one that one should be tippish, he'll be a tippish. His father could be the biggest Rosh Hashiva and the biggest scientist at Harvard and all that, and don't help him a bit. Let's continue. Ben Adam Gufa, within that person itself, it could be that initially he was wise, and afterwards he lost his mind in a way, he lost his intelligence, and he became a tippish. How could that be? Moshe, how could that be? If seichel, if the mind is the core of the person, then if you were once a chacham, how can you become a tippish? The answer is because seichel is not the core of the person. It's only a tool, an instrument of the person. Mashen came, conversely, this idea that a human is a category within humanity, who davar atzmi. That is an essential thing. That the category of humanity and human beings is humans and not anything else, not animals and anything else. There can never be a change. And all offsprings of Adam, Marishan, first man, are safe koladeros to the end of all the generations. We're humans, not animals, not vegetables. Next paragraph. This is on page Kuf Gimel, paragraph number 3. Yes.
But could this be, maybe he's making a distinction between intelligence and street smarts? Because there's different kinds of seichel. There's seichel that, that a person has inherently, and then there's seichel that a person picks up while doing things. If someone's a shliach, he picks up these things. He learns. He sees people. He learns from people. He's making to me, that's what it sounds like. He's making a distinction between those two things. But maybe I'm.
Well, no, I would say that if this is what you mean, I would agree with you. The fact that a human being has intelligence, has the intelligence of a human, that is unique to the human being and not to the animal. How they use that intelligence, or is that intelligence pure chachma or a mixture of chachma and tipshus, that's another story. So if that's what you mean, yes. The street smart idea, Yoni, is an adaptation of using the seichel that you got. But we're not talking about that. So, that's what we would call in this discussion the chitzonius, the external aspect of the mind. The fact that you have a mind, not that what kind of mind that you have. That's what he's saying. The issue of whether you're a chacham or a tippish, that's not etzem. Because if it were to be etzem, how can your son or your daughter, who are from your offspring, coming from you and your wife, be contrary to who you are? If it's etzem, that's the point that Yoel's making. If it's core essence, essence creates essence. Essence does not create adaptations and flirtations in different ways. That's his point. Next paragraph. You're in the same page, Kuf Gimel, third paragraph. V'oisa adover, hu benegeya li'inyan ha'yadus v'ha'kedusha sheba'ovis Avram, Yitzchak, v'Yakov. Yoel says the same idea is regarding Yiddishkeit, Jewishness, Yadut, and holiness that the ancestors, the Avos, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, give every Jew. The Inyan HaKedusha Shebehem, the idea of the Kedusha, Loi Inyan Shel Tzura Chitzonius. This isn't an external imagery given to a Jew, Kiyim rather, Zeh Hoya Hamuhus V'Ha'etzim Shelehem. The Jewishness of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov is who they are. You cannot remove that. If you remove their Jewishness, their Yadut and Kedusha, they're no longer Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Umiyaz and Mehavos, from the Avos, Nase Suk Chodesh Babriya, there was created a new category within creation. You hear that? Hillel. When Hashem created the world, we didn't have yet this category. We had humanity. Only after Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov were created and in the world, came into the world, did Hashem create at that moment a new category, i.e., Yadut, Jew. Sug shel Yehudim sheyesh bahem nefesh elikis. What was created, Avram? A category called Jews that have a godly soul. Shekol magmosa v'chefza. The entire yearning and desire, hulias kosher min HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the entire yearning and desire of a Jew is to be bound with God. Since this idea of Jewishness, of Yadus, is an essential quality of the Jew, and it puts them into a separate category, therefore, whoever is of the offspring of Abraham Yaakov, the word hechrich is in bold. They are forced. They don't have a choice, Moshe. They belong to the category called Jews, Yehudim. And they automatically have the holy soul that is given to everyone that belongs to this nation, the Jewish nation. They are bound, concealed and deep in their deep essence. Im Hashem Yisborech, with God Almighty, v'taros and His Torah, Kinal Baruch, as we explained earlier, Shezeu Psak Din Mefulish Barambam, it's a clear din of the Rambam. V'lochein, next paragraph, last paragraph on Kuf Gimel. Elu ha'chayshvim shekasha Yehudi chayte b'chatoim chaburim b'yoyser, those that think that when a Jew commits very serious sins, transgressions, Hunase goy lahavdil, he becomes a goy lahavdil, v'shebonov heim goyim, and that his children are goyim. Hin levad shu heipach halacha. Besides this being contrary to Jewish law, shari poshet shegam ben v'tneicher shel mumar, because the halacha is a son and a nechet and a grandson of a rebellious Jew called a mumar. Ad safe kol adayras, to the end of all generations. Kishemekadesh isha, when they do kiddushin, they marry a woman. Hitzricha mimenu get. The woman needs a get from this mumar. The mumar, his son and his grandson. Canal, as we learned earlier from the Rambam. Zeh moichiach, this proves. Regarding the overall hashkafa regarding Yidden, they think, next page, she'inyan, kuf dalet, top, she'inyan ayadus b'bnei Yisrael, he's talking now about the Satmar Shita, or those that follow on that Shita, that they understand, they look at this idea of Yiddishkeit within Jews. It's like an external aspect of the person. Similar to the use of the mind in a particular person. Since it's only external, it's not necessary, absolute necessary, that this imagery of being a Jew be passed on to the next generation, to the children. Ve'efsher shohaj av hi chochem, just like we said earlier, the father could be wise, v'haben yeh tippish, and the son will be a tippish. V'alderech zeh gam inyan hayadus b'nei Yisrael. So they argue, so too regarding Jewishness within the Jews. Lefi hashkafasam, this is their hashkafa. Shukamoi ezet tziyach etzayni, it's like an external thing. V'lochein efsher shetishtana mil dor l'dor. And my friends, as much as I hate saying it, it's true. It's true. It's true because when someone in this community, in this shita, this hashkafas community that we're discussing here, goes off the derech, right? For example, until now, till recently, and even now, it's still the exception. Goodbye. You lost your Jewishness. So when we talk about 250 years ago, the Misnagdim sitting and doing shiva for a child that became a chassid, and we can't believe that. It couldn't happen. It's a fable. It's a Hasidic Baba Meiser. So it was proven in the last 50 years or so, or here, when a child rebelled against their parents, they said, I don't want to have anything to do with you. Goodbye. Today, because of various reasons, they've eased up on that, but I want to tell you something. They didn't ease up because they changed their shita. That's a mistake. People think they did. It's a big mistake. They didn't change their hashkafa. They still believe that their kid who rebelled is a guy, and I don't care, and let them go and let them do whatever they want. Because of political pressures and maybe other things that might happen to their family within the community, they capitulate. But in Shita, they still hold the same thing. And I say this because, we had the Kinnis HaShulchan the other night, and I saw on the screen so many Yoilis, so many Satmar and others dancing together. And I always ask myself, and I know these people from the inside because I live with them, they haven't changed their hashkafa. They really haven't. They, unless you learn Chassidus, and you understand Chassidus, and you take it inside and you say, wow, I've been living with a lie all my life, and a Jew is a Jew, and all these things that we're learning here, if you don't come to that point, it's only an external change. And mind you, that's the same for us in our lives. About the Shuvah, which I mentioned this article from the Baltimore Times, from 25 years ago, where they were pointing out how Baal Tshuvas are not sincere because they still like rock and roll music. They choose they go on the train in the morning from Brooklyn to Manhattan to work, and they go on the cart that has a guy playing a jukebox with rock and roll. So it shows that he didn't eliminate his taiva for rock and roll. Right? You remember I told you that 2, 3, 4 years ago. Right? What's the pshat? The pshat's in truth. They're wrong, the writer, because he was looking for he was a troublemaker. But on the other hand, true tshuva is not just when you don't do something that you weren't supposed to do, or you start doing something you're supposed to do. That's the practical aspect. It's the hashkafa nafshitz. Your soul approach. How do you look at this? In other words, you come to a point where you say, the way I was taught was wrong, or I wasn't taught right, and all of a sudden the light bulb, the switch goes on, the light bulb goes on, and says, aha, I got it. And therefore, it's not that you're accepting the person because you have no other choice. You're accepting the person because the person's better than you. Because you understand Tanya chapter 30, for example, which we discussed yesterday, and you realize that he's better than me. He doesn't have a beard and a yarmulke and payas and he eats from McDonald's, and I don't. Guess what? He wasn't raised with those types. I wasn't raised with those types. He was. If I was raised with those types, I would be even worse. A big chassid Someone told me that a big Lubavitcher Chassid was Fabrenga in Toronto. A Chassid of the Rebbe Rashab, and I knew him, okay? And he said to the people there, to the Lubavitchers in a Fabrenga, he says, if I would have not learned Chassidus in Toim Chetmimin, I would be such a sinner. I have such a character of an animal, of Tivus. But I learned Chassidus, and Chassidus taught me how to control myself. Do you understand? That's what we're talking about. You know, you're looking at someone, you know, and Hillel, I'm sure, from his work can not tell us, because you're not allowed to tell us, but, you know, that the outer trappings and makings, which we've had, Moshe, we discussed, you know, this guy who killed himself, and he was a child molester and all that. And I'm just saying that unless you really change your inside and your hashkafa, it's all semantics. And this is what Rabbi Yoel is saying over here to these people. He's saying that if you don't accept a Jew, any Jew, as a Jew, which means that the Jew is holy and different than anyone else, then your Judaism is not solid. And I'm giving tzedakah and I'm building shuls and mikvahs and everything else. That's external and temporary. And what's going to be the next generation and the generation after? And that's the Nakuda. And I think we could say that if we reach a point in our Avodas Hashem that our Yiddishkeit becomes our essence, our etzem, there's a guarantee it'll stay in the family. And I'll tell you, I see it with my own children over the years. You know, did I learn much more than my kids? Absolutely. Do I know much more? Absolutely. But that's not where the commitment to being a frum Yid, and in this case a Hasidic Jew, is in their bones. They got it in their bones from their parents, and we got it from our parents. That won't change. The external might change. The external might change. They will be beard, they won't wear a beard. They'll have a trim beard, they'll have a big yarmulke. Those things are chitzonius, important things, and no question about it. But at the end of the day, that doesn't make you a Yid. What makes you a Yid is the hashkafa inside, and that's what we're talking about here. So this discussion here is, again, I'm showing you throughout this study how it's not just a narrow issue, Lubavitch versus Satmar versus Ben, Zionism versus not Zionism. That's the technical part of the study. There's the greater issue, which and Rabbi Yoel in his genius makes you think. If you're only honest, and you stop and ask yourself this issue, it'll go a long way in our families. And the kids and grandkids, they feel this. They know this. They know if our Yiddishkeit is solid because of our hashkafa nafshis. So if it's hashkafa nafshis, if it's a soul hashkafa, it's irremovable. That's what Rabbi Yoel says. Lo shayach l'shinui. It's not just that it doesn't change. It's not even in the realm of change. It's beyond change. How can you say that, Hillel? How can you say that your grandkids will remain Yidden? Well, the answer is not just because they were born from you and your kids who are Jewish and all that. That's true. But it's because if they were trained and raised and their hashkafa is Yadut to Kedusha, that's it. That's it. And that's a matter of time. They'll bounce back this time, they'll bounce back that time. That's and this Nakuda and this Nakuda Rabbi Yoel is challenging the Satmar attacks. He's saying you're attacking the non-religious and you're saying that they are not Jewish and their kids are not Jewish. Well, guess what? The question is whether you're Jewish. What do you mean whether I'm Jewish? What do you mean I daven 3 times a day? He says, I know you daven 3 times a day, but is that like your seichel or is that your etzem? Is that your seichel or your etzim? And that's a very profound approach to life and to Yiddishkeit. And the same is true for everything that we do. Do we do these things because we have to do them, we even want to do them, or we do them because this is who we are, and it can't be otherwise. It can't be otherwise. So for example, you speak about his father, depression, right? If a person knows and comes to a point where every moment of life is an opportunity, whether the bank account is full or empty, or whether, I'm having health issues, or whatever, right? Every moment is an opportunity. You get up, you jump out of bed in the morning. How am I going to pay the bills? I have this issue, that issue. Those are semantics. Those are chitzonius. The essence is that you have an opportunity. The Eibishter gave you on the Shema, and every day you have an opportunity. Like I told you, Reb Chaim Shalom Deitch from Yerushalayim. He bring the Bet Shemesh, right down the road from you guys. I was there, Chav Dalet Tevis, the Alter Rebbe's yard site. And he said to 75 Hasidim, he says to them, he says, when I get up in the morning, if I think about myself and my family and all that, I get sad. And I think he's a good Jew. I think he's on the right track. And I believe his kids are on the right track. But nevertheless, everyone has issues. But when I think about another Jew, when I think about what can I do for someone else, I become very happy. And I become excited. And I want to live another day. And I want to do another day. And that's something we have to do every morning. When you get up, when you open your eyes in the morning, and you get dressed, and you go to shul, that should be the focus. There's pressures. Later on, you deal with the pressures. Yeah, you got to deal with them. If you don't deal with them, they're going to attack you, and they're going to bother you, and they're going to disturb you. But you have to have the resolute, complete connection and feeling that it's Elikos. Let me just finish the paragraph, and then we'll stop. So he says that this idea that there's a difference, an inherent difference between Jews and non-Jews, the hashkafa that's not Yiddish is that it's only external. This hashkafa that Jews, we have one up on the Goyim because we do maybe the right thing more. Rabbi Yoel says this is a chitzonis, an external thing. Because, in other words, what you're saying is that really Jews and non-Jews are both the same. Then it's not a question of better or worse, but there's a difference. And if you say there's no difference, that means you're focusing on the chitzonis and not the pnimius. Tomorrow, Mr. Shem will continue, and I hope to finish this first part of the letter. Okay?
Rebbe, I won't be here tomorrow. Rebbe, we're going on a trip.
Okay, you should be safe. Whoever's traveling, be safe. And we have it on YouTube. Dr. Velvel can't come out of times. He has to be in the emergency room and other things. And he told me he takes the safer out and he listens to the YouTube, and other people do. So please, because it's a continuation. So, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I try to make it every shia should be, autonomous, but nevertheless, to get the big picture. So take some time and enjoy it. Sei gesund. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Hatzlacha. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Take care.